Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sean, this is the Game Room, and we are working on Dead Man's Hand. We've done an unboxing, we built a model with the plastic kit that comes in the box itself. I have built a lawman gang and an outlaw gang, and I'm going to start painting the outlaws. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So, as you can see, I have a couple of my outlaws here that I've already painted and gotten based. And we're going to do something very similar. Another one, base is not on yet, but you can kind of see what the base will look like when you glue him to his plastic base. Okay, and this is the guy we're going to paint right now. And if you look through the rule book, you can get lots of ideas for how you might want to build your models. But I don't 100% know how I want to paint him. As I start, I have an idea, so I picked out some colors which I think would work, and ideas may change as you paint and you see what the colors look like. So always keep that in mind. When you start putting paint down, I usually use a palette or one of these what I call it. It's a paper palette that I keep off to the side here, just so I can kind of see what the color might look like before it's put on the model. All the models were primed with gray cere from that one, from that company there, and you can pick that up in your model shop. You can use white, whichever you prefer. I like the gray cere because it's a great base coat. I usually use lots of contrast paints, but since the speed paints have come out, I've tried to start using those more. I really like them. The only two that are not speed paints that I have in the arsenal right now for this guy is Desert Yellow, which I will do for his base before I put the sand on it, and Soft Tone, which will mix with water to put over the sand to kind of help it match the edge of the base. Here, all my outlaws will be done in this color base, so they're easy to tell apart. And we'll use the Soft Tone mixed with some water, basically just water it down a little bit, to just kind of give the sand a good look. Otherwise, the sand will look like sand. So it's kind of funny how we put like rocks and stones on models, and then we paint the rocks and stones to make them look like rocks and stones. But it is what it is. But hey, it's a hobby. Do you. I'm gonna do me, and these are the paints I have. So Carmine Dragon, probably for his shirt. Peachy Flesh for the hands and his eyeballs. Raging Sea I have right now for his pants. Warrior Skin for his boots. I've been doing all the boots in kind of an occult black, or the occultist cloak. I thought maybe I'd vary it up. Satchel Brown for the holster, his belt, holster, gun hilt. I do have, I inadvertently put my silver away. Where'd you go? We'll use polished silver for the gun barrel. Occultist cloak we may not need at all, but we have it handy. Desert Yellow will be for the base, Soft Tone for the sand after we put it on there. Okay, not a whole lot of colors. In fact, all of these came out of the basic Speed Paint 2.0, except Satchel Brown. Actually, I'm lying to you, and Warrior Skin. So I have a mix and match here. I'm lying to you again. Oh, I actually got several that are Speed Paint 1. Anyway, they're Speed Paints. I think Speed Paint 2 has equivalent colors. I don't have the full range of Speed Paint 2. I only got one of the smaller boxes. I would really like to get the big box that has like everything. But don't have it yet. Okay, so I'll shut up and let's get to it. What should we start with? Let's start with the red, the Carmine Red, mainly because it's probably going to be the hardest color to fix if there is a problem. So neat thing about the speed paints now, they all have a 2-ball bearings in them, 1 or 2. And if you don't, you can always get some and add them to your paints. So I've tried to put these in all paints when possible, and it just helps mix them up. Anyway, put a little Carmine Dragon out here on the old palette. Probably need a little bit more than that. Alright. And let's get started. So I just want to paint his shirt. I don't want to get it all over everything, but you do a kind of speed paints are great. You just want to, you do want to put them on a little heavier than you normally would, because they're going to sit down in the recesses. They're going to help with your shading and everything right off the bat, so you don't have to go back and shade. And we're going for speed. We're going for speed and something that's going to look good on the tabletop. From what I like to call 3-foot tabletop distance. And what does 3-foot tabletop distance mean? That means when he's sitting out on the model, when you're standing there over the board and you look down, you're probably about 3 feet away. So if it looks good, then it looks good. You're not going to be able to see the eyeballs from that range. You're not going to be able to see tiny little details. If you want to do tiny little details, by all means, please do. But if you're looking to get stuff painted as quickly as possible and just get it on the board and have it look good, then follow along. Hopefully this will help. Now, throughout my videos, if you haven't seen any of my other painting videos, while I'm painting a single color, I may speed up, especially if I'm actually shut up and not talking. I will speed the video up a little bit faster, so don't let that freak you out. If you happen to see all of a sudden, you know, if you're watching these great videos and all of a sudden the guys are super fast, that's because they sped it up. So painting takes time. But I will tell you at the end of this about how long it took to paint the model. And we are 7 minutes into this video, and I have not sped this up yet. So I tend to not force you to listen to me cleaning brushes, changing paints, things like that. Usually I don't ramble this long, so I'm going to shut up. We're going to paint. I'll tell you what the color is. I'll tell you what I'm doing, and you'll probably get a little bit faster. Now, in between contrast paints, since they are very wet, they do take a little bit to dry, but not a long time. Contrast take a little while to dry. Speed paints seem to be drying pretty quick. I do not have the ceiling fan on, otherwise they would dry out really fast. But I'm going to let him sit for just a second and get the next color ready, which I think we're going to do. We're going to do the Raging Sea. Let's do his pants, because that's the next biggest area. Alright. See? Actually, I just paused there so that you didn't have to listen to me rattling Raging Sea over here. Okay, so we're going to... I tend to use one brush. I'm using a Ghost China #1. I tend to use one brush until it looks like this. It's just me. I just don't switch brushes a lot. I just find one that works for me and I just run it until I kill it. Alright, anyway. Let's put the blue on him. Let's see how that comes out. Okay, I needed to switch over to a Ghost Tiny A, because if you'll look closely, hopefully you can see that, right above his belt, right here, around the front, is part of his jeans, his pants. So I want to be able to get that, but I don't want to get it all over the place. So I'm going to use a smaller brush and very gently just get it in there, like so. Alright. Just like that. Alright, be right back. And while I have this tiny brush out, I just cleaned it. There's a little bit of red that was missed right under here. I don't know if you can see it, but right under there. Right there. I wanted to go ahead and touch. So very carefully I'm going to touch that up without getting red paint everywhere. Okay, let's work on the flesh next. Alright, peachy flesh is what we're going to use. Not going to need much of this at all. But we do need it for his hands. Use it up here. And this one is a very light color. So I'm okay with getting it like on the gun hilt and stuff, because the darker will cover that up very easily. Same thing for the his eyes. I don't want to get it everywhere, but what I do want to do is I just want to poke it in there as best we can. Alright, now it actually looks like there's something under that mask. It's not all gray. Alright, be right back. Alright, next up is Warrior Skin speed paint for his boots. And again, we want to be careful. We don't want to get it on the blue. If your blue is still a little wet, you might want to give it a chance to dry. If you remember the original speed paint one, if you would get them, if you run other paints over them, it would reactivate them and cause all sorts of fun problems. I never really had that issue unless I tried to do it, but I know a lot of people did. So if you're using regular speed paints, make sure you let it dry before you move on to the next one. You may even have to seal them. Speed paint 2s, I've not run into that problem at all. Alright, that looks like a good color for his boots, quite happy. Next, we're going to use the Satchel Brown for his belt. So just a second. Alright, Satchel Brown speed paint version 1. That's what we're using, and this is going to be for the holster and the belt. And here you got to be really careful because you don't want too much paint on your brush. You don't want to get it all over the stuff you've already painted. Alright, here we go. Be right back. Okay, I also need to switch over to a smaller brush, same one, the Ghost Tiny A, using the same Satchel Brown to do the hilt of his pistol, which is right here. And you gotta see here over the top of his hand. The rest of that's going to be silver, but there we go. Alright, be right back. Alright, polished silver is what we're going to use for the gun. Now, generally when I paint, I have a movie on or something in the background, except for when I'm talking to you guys. You'll just hear the music in the background. But while I was painting the other ones, I was watching finished Good, Bad, and the Ugly and finished Pale Rider. Two great Clint Eastwoods. I actually had just, when I was building the models, I watched Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More, and then Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I painted, finished building, and then started painting through that. It was a lot of fun. Did Pale Rider also, just finished that one. Well, actually, right before I started filming this. Why do I bring that up? What are some good Western movies that I haven't seen a ton? I've seen a lot of the Clint Eastwood ones. I really like Clint Eastwood Westerns. I have seen like Tombstone. Yeah, I've seen that one 20 times at least. Even watched The Hateful Eight. Magnificent Seven, old one and the new one, fantastic movies. But what are some other good ones? I have not seen 3:10 to Yuma. I think I'm going to try to get on that one next. That one looks really good. But what else? What are some other ones? I've seen others. Bone Tomahawk is a great horror western. If you've not seen that one, it's a horror movie. Just understand it is a horror western, and it is actually, it's really good. Not for the squeamish or for the kids. Alright, the only thing we have left on him is his hood. You can do the hood any color you want. I'm actually going to experiment here with, I'm just going to do it with a soft tone. Just kind of give it a, almost like a burlap sack kind of look, if that makes sense. I don't really know how else to describe it. I just want to see, just kind of give it a brown bag look, and we'll see how it goes. Now, the tones, these quick shade washes, they are very, very thin, so be careful when you put them on. You don't want it to run over your other work unless you want it to run over your other work. They are a wash, so they are used for dulling things down, or if you're using regular army paints, this is where they would do a really good job of filling in the crevices. Look at how they're filling in the crevices right there. I am going to get a little bit into the eyes to help darken that area, but I don't want it to pool. Don't want it to pool in those areas. What does it mean by pooling? You don't want a big puddle on his eyeballs, because then it's going to make his eyeball dark brown. That's not really what I'm going for. But what you do want is, you can see how it sits in those recesses. It's going to make those recesses really dark, and the rest of it will stay lighter, so it'll give it that definition. This is why they're called speed paint. You can do multiple things in one paint in one shot. So you're getting your highlighting, you're getting your paint on there, you're getting your depth, your definition in the crevices, and you're getting your highlights all in one paint. So it's one of the reasons I like the speed paints and the contrast paints. is because you can paint very, very quickly. Alright, I kind of like how that came out. Now, with speed paints and contrast paints, once you get them on there, once it starts to dry, you really don't want to touch it because it'll just mess it up. So quick, get it on quickly, and then just let it sit. Okay, folks, painting, he's done, and this has been maybe 15 minutes. Okay, I'm at the 20-minute mark of actual paint time. Probably paused for a total of 2 minutes for shaking paints and cleaning out brushes, but dang it, he looks pretty good from that distance. The only thing we have left is the base. So let's go ahead and do that. For that, we're going to use Desert Yellow. Let me get that ready real quick. Alright, back with the Desert Yellow now. And for this one, we're mainly looking at the edge of the base, which we're going to get. And I'm also going to paint, granted this is going to be covered with sand, but I want to show you something on one of the other ones that I made a mistake. I'm still going to have to go back and fix, but I haven't fixed, so I could show you. The reason you want to go ahead and paint the base at least, a color, which is what I'm doing here. One, it'll help cover up, any paint you've gotten on the base itself, like so. Okay. But if you look closely under her feet, there's a patch of dark gray because I didn't get the glue there, and I didn't catch it until after I had finished her and colored the base, and then I realized, oh crap, I missed a spot. So now I'm gonna have to go back and fill that in and then try to recolor it and make it all match. So it's gonna be a little more difficult. So when you are if I had painted that, it wouldn't show up as much. Had I painted it the Desert Yellow, it'd kind of look like the sand, and you'd be like, oh yeah, well, maybe it's just a thin sand, okay? So that's why you want to go ahead and paint the whole thing as best you can. Now I am going to let this dry, and then I'm going to use glue. I use super glue. I use Gorilla Super Glue. PVA glue works great. Elmer's glue, the white one. I do have some of that around here somewhere. I just use super glue because I am so impatient. If you haven't told by the videos, that's why we paint quick. I'm impatient and I want to get things done. So super glue works really well, but you don't want to get too much. Okay, so like I said, Gorilla Super Glue and toothpick. Use toothpicks to spread it around and get it into those hard to reach places. Now I would suggest, if you're new to this or you're just starting, stick with PVA glue until you get comfortable messing with the super glue. You don't want to glue your fingers together, blah blah blah. It's just PVA glue, it just takes longer, and I'm totally impatient. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to get it all the way up to the edge of his feet. You don't want to get it on their feet unless you want sand and dirt on their feet. But I'm just spreading the super glue around. Okay, now your sand, grit, whatever you have, you can dip it if it's deep enough for you. I prefer to just kind of layer it on a little bit before, that way I can kind of control what all is getting on there. I do want a few rocks, mostly sand. missed a spot, you will be able to find it very quickly. So I have a couple of gaps right up next to his feet where I didn't get very good. So see if we can fix that real quick. Better, and a couple of spots on the outer edge. I did not do a very good job of covering. Now, some of this you can cover up with some other things too, which I will do. We'll add alright, well, that's pretty good. Well, I'm going to let that dry for a second, and then we're going to wash the whole thing, and then we'll add a few extra things just to take it up a notch. Okay, with the glue dry, time for soft tone. I'm going to use 4 drops of soft tone, and then I'm just going to add some water to it. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. These are the colors that we've been using, and this is my soft tone here. So literally I'm just going to add about the same number of drops of soft tone to the same number of water. I don't want to make the sand dark, I just want to give it some definition so it looks a little less bland. And just give it a little life. Alright, let me get this out of the way. And using one of my Ghost 2 that was all frayed like I showed you a while ago. And now we're just going to dump this all over the base. If it's too dark, then lighten it up. And do that just by adding more water. Okay, now this is going to take some time to dry, and the one that I showed you that I had not done, I'm going to go ahead and do him as well. That way he can be finished also. But there you have it, folks. Doing the base, again, this is going to take a little while to dry. If you need to touch up the edge of the base at that point, then you can do that. Just let it dry first. That way you don't mess up your edge of your base. You got to paint it multiple times. Stuff you've probably heard from many other painters, but it's just, this one is really wet, so even if you get it on the edge, this will cover up very easily. So, all right. Now, I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come back, and like I said, we'll take it up a notch. Be right back. Okay, so Army Painter, Warlord, and others make grass tufts. And if you have not ever used one, they're actually very easy. They're just little grass that you can put on, and they come in different ways. These are some little flowers that I put on the ladies. It just kind of helps bring the base to life. So, I mean, this looks cool. This is cool. He's walking through rocks. But, maybe a little tuft of something would just give it a little more life. So, the way I put these on is, if you got like an old pair of, clamp or just something that you can get a hold of it. And then on the bottom where it's glued to the pad, just add a little bit of glue, same super glue, and then place it where you think it would look coolest. And I think just like right here in front of this guy on the ground, like so, just like a little tumbleweed or whatever. something growing in the ground. You can also use them to strategically hide imperfections. So like if you missed a spot on the base, then remember I showed you that one? Well, you can't see it anymore because, you know, it's covered up by this flower bed that she just happens to be walking through. So there you go. Alright guys, all in all, painting was very quick, and then we spent time doing the base, etc., which may take you just as long. But it's not a difficult process. It's not a long process. This whole video is just, you know, it's at 32.5 minutes. And again, we did a whole of like 15 minutes of actual paint. And to be honest, he looks pretty good, and he's going to look good on your table. If you're going for the high details, then there's a lot of other things you can do. You can highlight, and you can do this. If you're going to take pictures to show online, then maybe you want to do more highlighting. But for what I'm doing, I want to be able to play the game. I want it to look cool. I want people to walk by and say, hey, that looks really cool, instead of seeing some gray plastic or some, you know, prime models that don't have any paint on them. Nobody's going to look that close. Nobody's going to stare. And if they do, they're going to look at it and say, that's really cool. I mean, it is. It's really, here, let me pull it back. I mean, he looks good. For 4, 8, 9 total colors, including the soft tone that we used on him. He looks pretty damn good for that. So anyway, I hope this helps. I hope you're enjoying Dead Man's Hand as much as I am. Probably paint a few more. Still got to get to the lawmen, get them painted, and so we can get them on the table, because I really want to play this game. Now, if you've watched my last Dead Man's Hand week that I did a few years ago, there's a lot more painting videos on that and how to play on the old way. But hopefully you've got the new set, or you're looking into getting the new set. The plastic models are fantastic. I really do like them, and hope you've helped. I hope this video has helped. I'm Sean. This is the Game Room. I'm going to shut up. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, especially if there is a Western movie that you really liked that I need to watch that maybe I haven't. So let me know. As always, thank you for watching, and God bless. Bye now.